Few theme park rides test your bravery and mettle like a roller coaster. Statistically, you're perfectly safe. You have maybe a 1 in 24 million chance of getting hurt on a coaster, and 1 in 750 million chance of dying on one. But you don't think about stats when zipping up and down the tracks, careening upside down, and enduring loop-de-loops that make you pray your seatbelt works perfectly. Obviously, not all roller coasters are the same. Some are tamer and more predictable, designed for beginners, or those who aren't so much adrenaline junkies as adrenaline hobbyists. Others, meanwhile, are completely over the top and unpredictable, meant to instill thrill and fear into even the most hardcore of coaster addicts. Check out the 10 craziest roller coasters in the world and make plans to ride them all, if you think you're ready. Simply seeing the tangled web that is the Takabisha roller coaster is enough to give anyone chills. Since its opening in 2011, Takabisha has terrified passengers with its complete and utter unpredictability. Even if you technically know what's going to happen, you're not prepared for it. The ride starts with a rapid-fire drop into total darkness, simply to set the mood. Seconds later, you're launched at over 60 miles per hour into the light in a series of pants-wetting coaster loops. A banana roll, corkscrews, and several 180-degree turns follow in rapid succession. You're then sent back to the station, only to quickly zoom 180 degrees toward a 141-foot-tall chain lift hill. Once at the top, you experience Takabisha's trademark, an absolutely terrifying 121-degree drop, a world record for roller coaster steepness that nobody has yet broken. From there, you're treated to 3 more loops before finally returning to the station. Amazingly, Takabisha has not yet caused a single injury. Here's hoping it stays that way. Even still, the sheer rush of darkness followed by 7 different loops and the steepest drop of them all will likely make you want to spend a couple of hours on the merry-go-round afterward, simply to calm your nerves. For the most part, the Gravity Max roller coaster is pretty straightforward. After a drop, there's some darkness, 1 loop, and some rolling track before you're sent back to the station. But what happens before the drop is one of the scariest, craziest features of any coaster on the planet. The track seemingly breaks, and if you don't know what's coming, you just might faint. After rising 114 feet, your car suddenly stops, and you realize there's no more track. You're seemingly stuck up there, at least until the track begins to slowly angle downward. It feels like the coaster is malfunctioned and you're about to pay for it with your life. But then the track connects to the rest of the coaster and sends you careening down at a 90-degree angle. For those who don't know their geometry, a 90-degree drop sends you straight down, which is so terrifying no other coaster in the world has yet dared to put its riders through it. Gravity Max broke the mold, daring its riders to embrace a sense of danger like they've never had before. The Fury 325 roller coaster is one of the world's most aptly named coasters, as well as one of the freakiest. And it doesn't just thrill your body, but your mind too. The coaster's overall aesthetic is inspired by the hornet, one of the most rage-filled insects on Earth. The 325 comes from the coaster sending its riders to a peak height of 325 feet, making it one of the tallest coasters in the world. But the designers don't just toy with your head with the foreboding name. No, they play with your psychology from the second you enter the park. Part of Fury 325 zooms past and around Carowind's front gate, putting the coaster in your head the second you walk in and building your anticipation long before you even get in line. Once on the coaster, Fury 325 does not disappoint. In addition to its foreboding height, it drops you at an 81-degree angle, reaching speeds of roughly 95 miles per hour. While there are no loops, there are plenty of rolls and corkscrews along the way, and the speed doesn't let up for a second. Adding to the danger is a beam meant to barely clear your head. While you're in no actual danger provided you're not 8 feet tall, the positioning of the beam combined with the speed makes it so your brain can only process terror when they see that bit of steel seemingly coming straight toward you. And don't forget, at some point Fury 325 will send you past the front gate, in full view of everybody entering the park. That way you're playing your part in building anticipation for the next set of Fury riders, who will do the same as they're sent hurtling past yet more eager park goers. It's the circle of life, or more accurately, the circle of screaming for your life. The Montu ride at Tampa Bay's Busch Gardens is a prime example of what makes a roller coaster truly terrifying. The sense that you, the rider, are not in control. You're strapped tight in a car barreling at over 60 miles per hour, twisting and turning and dropping the entire time. Few coasters take that sense of control away from you better than Montu. From the start, the ride seems extra scary because the track lies above your car rather than below it. This lets your feet dangle as you zip through the ride, greatly adding to the seeming danger before the ride even begins. From there, after your initial drop, you're treated to a loop into a darkened tunnel, a corkscrew, an inverted corkscrew, and multiple turns taken at purposefully sharp and freaky angles. Montu's entire goal is to make it so you can't see what's next, because what's next is meant entirely to scare you out of your skin. On 5 different occasions, Montu sharply turns and you immediately find yourself in the trenches. The coaster drops down to the point where your feet are dangling just above the ground. Any closer and you may risk losing your feet forever. This obviously will not happen, and you'll quickly find yourself back up in the air, safely screaming to the heavens. But if for even a split second you thought you were about to crash to your doom, then Montu did its job. Abu Dhabi doesn't do many things small, and their roller coasters are no exception. Case in point, the Formula Rossa ride at Ferrari World, which isn't just the world's fastest roller coaster, it's the fastest by a landslide. With the overall theme of a Ferrari racetrack complete with the coaster train done up like a Ferrari race car, it makes sense that Formula Rossa would be the fastest of all of its peers. It reaches top speeds of nearly 150 miles per hour, while its closest competitor, Kingda Ka in New Jersey, can only manage a comparatively sluggish 128 miles per hour. What's more, thanks to its super powerful hydraulic launch system, Rossa can hit its top speed in under 5 seconds. It's so fast and the speed happens so quickly, riders actually have to wear goggles for protection. The ride itself isn't a slouch either. There's no slow rise up a track. Much like a Formula 1 race, you're immediately zooming straight ahead to top speed. The speed doesn't let up as you're sent careening along the track, the rails constantly twisting and turning as you fight to keep your skin from being blown off your face. The lack of loops and corkscrews hardly matter. Formula Rossa's sheer speed provides enough thrill to keep its racers thrilled and happy during each crazy ride. Formula Rossa might have claimed the fastest coaster title from Kingda Ka, but that doesn't make this Six Flags mega attraction any less crazy or menacing. If the most thrilling part of a roller coaster is the height you scale before dropping down at Mach speed, then Kingda Ka might just be calling your name. Since 2005, Kingda Ka has held the crown of world's tallest roller coaster. It reaches a seemingly impossible height of 456 feet before dropping you 418 feet at a nearly 90-degree angle. Remember, this ride can reach speeds of up to 128 miles per hour and can do so in roughly 3.5 seconds. It may not be the fastest coaster ever, but its speed plus the insane height should be quite enough to make you glad you hit the bathroom before taking this ride. Perhaps because of the extremes this coaster puts its riders through, it's not a long ride at all. From launch to stop, you're on the coaster for only 28 seconds. But in those 28 seconds, you're subjected to that rapid-fire launch, the record-setting rise, a 270-degree spiral, and then another 129-foot rise that actually makes you weightless for a second. Immediately thereafter, the brakes hit and the ride is over. Brief run or not, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone walking away from Kingda Ka disappointed. Some roller coasters are tall, others are fast. The Smiler, a United Kingdom coaster, earned its insane reputation another way. It features more rolls and loops than any other coaster in the world. Built in 2013, the Smiler immediately garnered attention for its 14 inversions, a record that no coaster has topped since. The first inversion happens before you begin your ascent, meaning the second your car moves, you're already upside down. After a series of inversions, the train stops, and you're sent up yet another set of brake tracks for a second ascent. After a 90-degree drop, you'll begin the second half of the ride, which features even crazier loops than the last. Near the very end, you're barrel rolling 360 degrees several times over, leaving no time to do anything but scream before the ride finally comes to a complete stop. The Smiler also features several gimmicks it calls mind manipulations. It makes it appear that the ride is spraying you with laughing gas and other assorted chemicals designed to put a smile on your face, hence the ride's name. That may not be necessary, as your stomach's incessant tickling from going upside down and all around so many times in just a couple of minutes will make you smile no matter what gases Alton Towers pretends to throw your way. Full Throttle reaches a height of 160 feet. While that may not sound impressive when compared to other coasters that send you over 450 feet in the air, you may change your tune when you learn that you're upside down at that height. Yes, Full Throttle features a 160-foot high vertical loop, which is crazy to imagine, much less experience. You experience that insane loop almost immediately, as Full Throttle launches you from 0 to 70 miles per hour within a second or so. From there, you find yourself zooming upward until you're upside down, 160 feet up. After a few more inversions, the ride suddenly stops. But you're not done yet, as you now get to experience everything again, only in reverse. So not only will you be upside down 160 feet high, you'll be that way twice. After that, the ride ends for real, less than a minute after it began. Not surprisingly, Full Throttle set the record for tallest vertical loop upon its launch in 2013. In 2016, though, a Chinese coaster called Flash debuted, also featuring a 160-foot loop. But if you're a North American adrenaline junkie, you still can't go wrong with visiting the co-champion in California. The one drawback of a roller coaster, no matter how thrilling it may be, is that the ride's simply over too fast. Some don't even last 30 seconds, which can be a bummer after spending 45 minutes in line. If that's the case, then head on over to Japan, where the Steel Dragon 2000 coaster is ready to spend lots of quality time with your screaming self. The Dragon is the world's longest coaster by far. It features a whopping 8,133 feet of track. By comparison, Kingda Ka is only 3,118 feet long, and Gravity Max measures a mere 1,863 feet. With that much terrain to cover, Steel Dragon is a lengthy ride indeed. From launch to stop, you're in that train for close to 4 minutes. Steel Dragon 2000 reaches a height of 318 feet before dropping you 307 feet below. It can reach speeds of up to 95 miles per hour and immerses you in pitch blackness several times over. There's no inversions or crazy loops, but the sheer amount of coaster you get more than makes up for that. So if you're ever in Japan and have 5 minutes to kill, there's a dragon who's anxious to meet you. Earlier I mentioned how Full Throttle has the tallest vertical loop in North America, and perhaps the world, while Gatekeeper in Ohio has its own height record to brag about. At 170 feet high, this coaster boasts the tallest inversion of any kind in the world. Gatekeeper features 6 inversions, the craziest being the wing overdrop. After climbing 170 feet at the start of the ride, the track rotates a full 180 degrees, sending you careening 164 feet upside down. The ride doesn't let up after that, inverting several times over. This includes multiple occasions where it looks like you're about to hit a wall, only for your train to suddenly invert and send you through a narrow space called a keyhole, saving you from certain doom. The train's design is just plain neat, too. No rider actually sits above or below the track. Rather, you're stationed on the train's wings, adding to the danger of rolling that high up, as well as passing through those narrow keyholes. But like all the other coasters I've mentioned, you're never in any real danger on the Gatekeeper. Most likely, however, you'll be too busy screaming to remember that.